Today, let's talk about how to fire someone the right way. This video is about firing that person that you really like, who's trying really hard. They're the lovable slacker, the puppy who just can't stop pooping on the carpet, right? What do you do about these people? Cue the flowchart. This flowchart will remove all doubts around firing because if you follow it correctly, you'll know with absolute certainty that exiting an underperformer is the right thing both for the company and for them. In fact, if you follow this process the right way, you'll rarely have to fire underperformers at all. Most will willingly resign and you'll be able to soften their landing and hopefully part as friends. So let's start at the beginning. Something went wrong. It's human nature to want to assign blame whenever something goes wrong. So it's after these moments of failure that leaders start to think, crap, I'm gonna have to fire someone. But instead of jumping straight to,
someone's gonna have to pay for this,
I want you to ask this question instead. Is someone directly responsible? Now, maybe there's no one at the company who's even been hired to do this particular job. Or maybe the email asking that person to do that really important thing is still sitting in your inbox in the drafts folder. I know I've done that before. Or heck, maybe someone didn't do a particular job or task because no one told them that it was their job to do it. Not my job. Again, I've been there on that one too. The point is, when something goes wrong, it's best to give your people the benefit of the doubt and assume that it was a lack of clarity that was to blame and not that one particular person. And if that's indeed the case, then the person to blame is you, the leader. So what do? The first step is you must clarify roles and responsibilities. Have a conversation and get on the same page. Update their job description and have them re-sign it if major changes were made. Look at their job title and who they're reporting to and make sure that both align with the roles and responsibilities that you need done today. Things change fast in companies and it's not uncommon for jobs to change without telling the person that they changed. Once you've done that, it's time for a reset. A reset means just that. Resetting and returning to business as usual. No hard feelings, no passive-aggressive reminders, and no marks on anyone's permanent record just because you failed to clearly articulate someone's role and responsibility. But let's go back, right? What if they are directly responsible? What if a ball was truly dropped and they know it and you know it too? At that point, you need to have an accountability conversation in which you practice extreme ownership. Practicing extreme ownership means giving your employee the full benefit of the doubt and taking all the blame. I repeat, all the blame for the failure. Now, I know this is a really tough pill to swallow. I mean, after all, it's their job.
you had one job.
And they are the ones who failed, right? Well, maybe that's the case, but maybe it isn't. What if something happened that was truly outside of their control? Like, I don't know, a pandemic, for example, right? What if they weren't given all the resources that they needed to succeed? What if someone else in the company reassigned them without your knowledge and without your approval? Or what if you just flat out made a bad hire and you set someone up to fail? At the end of the day, you just don't know. And that's why it's in everyone's best interest if you give them the full benefit of the doubt while still speaking truth. And this is exactly what an accountability conversation does. And it goes something like this. Hey Bob, look, I know this ball got dropped, but I also know that you care about this company and that you genuinely want to do a good job. So I'm gonna assume that this failure was my fault, that it was all on me. Either we failed to clarify our expectations or we didn't give you all the resources that you need to succeed. So let's talk about what happened so we can make sure that nothing like this happens again. Deal? Now this method works because it creates opportunity for both the employee and the company to grow. And trust me on this one, I have discovered more cracks in our organization and in our systems just by asking this question than I care to admit. So ask it with sincerity, because more times than not, you'll find that you and your leadership team are the true culprits. But even when the fault doesn't lie at your doorstep, the question that really needs to be answered is, do they have the resources that they need to succeed in their job? If the answer is no, then your next task is simple. Give them what they freaking need and then reset. Again, no hard feelings and no strikes on their permanent record. But if it turns out that they did have all the resources they needed and they were set up for success, then the situation is a little bit different. Oof. Because think about it, something went wrong. They were directly responsible. They knew they were directly responsible and they had all the resources that they needed to succeed. In these cases, it's time for a performance improvement plan. All right, no, just kidding. It's actually not that bad. In fact, when it's done right, a performance improvement plan should do just that. It should improve performance. Now, as a general rule, a performance improvement plan takes anywhere from 30 to 90 days, depending on the role and the person that you're working with. For an entry-level individual contributor, 30 days is usually enough to see if you can get things back on track. For senior level executives, it may require a full quarter just to see if this is gonna work out. Either way, 90 days is the max. Trust me on this one, don't go longer than 90 days. Now, it's very important that throughout this process, you practice what is known as radical candor. This is what the book's author, Kim Scott, refers to by giving feedback while caring personally and challenging directly. It should sound something like this. Hey Bob, look, I really like you and I really respect you as a person, but as we've discussed, things aren't really working out right now. But since I care about you and I want to see you succeed, I'm gonna recommend that we initiate a performance improvement plan just to get things back on track. Because candidly, if we can't, I'm afraid we're gonna have to shift the conversation to what it looks like for you to no longer be a part of this company. So here's what we're gonna do. Next, you need to do these 3 very important things to establish the performance improvement plan. Number 1, set clear expectations of what performance improvement looks like. They need to understand exactly what they need to do to get back into the company's good graces. Number 2, set a clear timeline for review. This needs to be an exact date on everyone's calendar. Schedule it now along with weekly check-in. And number 3, get buy-in. I recommend actually having them sign a written breakdown of the plan, but at a minimum, you need to send it in an email form and then ask them to reply just to confirm that they received it. Again, it's super important that you don't consider the performance improvement plan as a pre-firing period where you're just checking the legal and HR boxes so that you can, limit the company's liability.
It's nothing personal. You're fired.
That is not what this is about. Going on a performance improvement plan is not a smudge on someone's record. It's an opportunity to learn and to grow, and your people need to understand that. But the reality is they'll never believe it unless it's actually true. So make sure it is true. Now, in a perfect world, the performance improvement plan does its job and your team member meets all the expectations in the time allowed. In that case, it is vital that you celebrate growth and success and, wait for it, reset. Yep, wipe the slate clean and fully restore them to their previous status. Again, we don't leave marks on permanent records and we don't stitch scarlet letters into our team members' clothes.
Shame.
But what if things didn't work out? What if they got to the end of the performance improvement period and they still failed to meet expectations? Well, believe it or not, at this point, many people on your team will simply opt out of the process and resign. They know they aren't a fit and they know they should seek employment elsewhere. But what if they don't resign, right? What if they're still willing to stick it out? Now do you fire them? Well, not so fast, Trigger. Before you do the undoable, you need to first ask, is this person a strong culture fit? Do they uphold your company's values and beliefs? Are they a net positive to the company environment as a whole? Now, if the answer is no, then don't pass go and don't collect $200. Just let them know that it obviously isn't working out and help transition them to their next opportunity. I won't sugarcoat it. It sucks to fire people, but because you've gone through the hard work and you've stuck to the process, exiting that person should be as simple and pain-free as it can possibly be. And if nothing else, you can walk away knowing that you truly did everything that could be done. You took the social responsibility of hiring seriously and you treated your employee fairly, respectfully, and like a fellow human being. But rewind. What if the answer is yes? What if they are a great culture fit? And what if they are a positive influence on the company environment? Sure, they're in a role that clearly isn't a fit, but does that have to be the end of the road? Well, maybe not. And that's why you need to ask, is there another suitable role available for this person in this company? So maybe community management wasn't the ideal place, but maybe customer care is. Or maybe sales wasn't their thing, but marketing is. The point is, if you have the right person and they just aren't in the right seat, it's worth trying to find a seat that is a fit. If there is, then invite them to apply or just consider an immediate transfer. And if they accept the offer, boom, reset. If, however, they don't accept the offer, or you just don't have a different opening for them at that time, then all paths do indeed lead to the same unfortunate place, and that place is, I'm sorry, but you're fired. Firing good people who are trying their best and who are good culture fits is one of the worst parts of being a leader. It sucks, it really does. But what's even worse than firing someone who you really like and who's trying really hard is allowing your other team members to see you tolerate someone who just isn't pulling their own weight. So make the tough call, even when it's uncomfortable, because that's what it takes to build a scalable company. If you want to know more about how to turn your company into a well-oiled machine, check out my other video on how to build a business that runs itself.